Week 1 of the college football season is behind us, and Jordan, there are 3 big games that we'll be talking about.
We'll be talking about those big games. I'll be going in the juicer against Skyler, Wilkes, and there's a couple programs, Austin, that are going in the toilet right now in college football.
Dabo Sweeney, I'm coming for you. Plus, we have our final words and the plays of the week. You don't want to miss it. It's No Pulp, the first one of the semester, and it starts right now.
Kansas State has been on fire this year.
Missouri is one of the most fraudulent teams in college basketball.
And it was proved
They're not going to fire him. He's the best player in program history.
Side to Lawrence for the win! Yes! He got it!
She is the Shohei Ohtani of college softball. This is a team that's potentially going to be a top 10 team in the country.
How you feeling? I'm excited to win the juicer.
LSU has captured its very first national championship.
Let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. Austin Barach, Jordan Leonard here. The first No Pulp of the semester. Jordan, football is back in a big-time way. Tonight, Wednesday night, tomorrow, Chiefs Ravens. Friday night in Brazil, what's up? Eagles, Packers. Saturday, week 2 of college football. Sunday, and then on Monday night, your Jets are going to lose a football game. You hyped up?
I don't know about losing a football game. Aaron Rodgers is going to come back and play pretty well, Austin.
We'll see. Well, Connor Wigman and the Texas A&M Aggies lost a football game last Saturday night, and that's where we will start. Notre Dame went into Cal Field and shut up 107,000 people, 23-13 the score. I kind of want to focus on how the Aggies lost this game. Yeah, the Irish won this game. They made plays down the stretch, but Wigman in particular was not getting it done.
Well, you mentioned Wigman. He didn't have a good game. He waited a couple of years to really get this opportunity, and he didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
2 interceptions. He didn't really
And they
even
were
manage.
bad, too.
They were bad interceptions at bad times of the game. All you need to do if you're Connor Wigman, because Texas A&M has such a good running game, is manage the game, and he didn't do that. That's exactly what Riley Leonard did, and he's a better quarterback. You know, on top of that, he ran the ball very well, 68 yards on the ground. He threw it 158 through the air. He really managed this game, allowed Notre Dame to really take over in the end.
You know, part of me thought, man, it was probably a bad omen, the fact that Shane Gillis was there for the Fighting Irish. I think he might be more of an example of American culture right now than Johnny Football, who was a guest picker for game day. That's something I'll be talking about later. But look, when it came down to nut crunching time, Riley Leonard scrambled. He got it with his legs, got it with the arm, and the offensive line for Notre Dame picked it up. But for Wigman, those bad interceptions, he looked panicked, he looked rushed in the first half, and the second half, the tighter the game got, the less confident I got in him. When it was 20-13 just over 2 minutes ago, ND scores. Wigman, I mean, you see the line there, 100 yards, 2 picks, 12 of 30. First down on that last drive of the game, nothing doing. Second down, nothing doing. 3rd and 10, they run the football. That's a bad sign. That tells me that Mike Elko, first-year head coach of the Aggies, does not have confidence in his quarterback. And 4th and 2, simple slant play. They read it all the way. This is a bad loss for A&M. Sure, they kind of were competing in there, but they're ranked 20th to start the season for a reason. I don't think they're going to be making a splash in the SEC.
Also, this whole game came down to experience. In the end of the day, Riley Leonard led an 8-play, 85-yard drive, 4 minutes, 29 seconds for the touchdown. Mike Elko, in his first season at Texas A&M, really couldn't get the job done. Notre Dame showed how experienced they were, closing out the game. A big win for them, too, because this is probably the hardest game on their schedule. Their schedule's pretty easy going forward. They have a 20% chance to win out and make the college football playoff. Someone who's also trying to make the college football playoff this season is Miami. And they went in week number 1 down into the swamp and defeated Florida 41-17. A statement victory for a team that came in number 3 in the ACC in the preseason poll and really had to show who they were in week 1.
It's funny how these preseason polls, you can look back and you're like, wait, what happened there? Clemson, Florida State. It's all groupthink in the offseason. You think about what happened last year, who they're bringing back, who's a quarterback. People didn't want to put Miami too highly ranked because they threw up all over themselves last year and the year before, right? Miami has historically been a joke in our lifetime, right? The U was something back in the day. Frank Gore, right? The early 2000s. That was the epitome of Miami. But Cam Ward is electrifying. We knew this. He's a legit Heisman guy. You see Cam McCormick, 9th year, tremendous story. What's up, scores a touchdown. I mean, simply put, Miami took it to the Gators, who looked flat. They looked out of, they didn't know what they were doing. I mean, this is a win to me with Miami because we're going to talk a lot about Florida later on. This makes me believe that they're a big boy program again. I think about that loss last year to Georgia Tech where they could have just ran the football out, but they didn't. They fumble it, they go down, Tech scores. That game set them back a few spots, in my opinion. This game tells me that they're serious to compete in the ACC.
If you're looking at Miami, you're not looking at the head coach, Mario Cristobal. You're looking at Cam Ward. He was absolutely on fire in this one. 385 yards, 3 touchdowns. He looks like an NFL quarterback. He can move, he can run, he can throw off platform. He's got Xavier Restrepo, a wide receiver, a first-team All-ACC candidate. 112 yards through the receiving and a touchdown in this one. Miami really proved something here because going in the swamp and doing this is not an easy task, but Miami went in there, struggled a little bit at the beginning, took a little bit to get into it, but really took it to Florida, whose offense, by the way, looks very, very pathetic with Graham Mertz, not a dynamic quarterback.
Not at all. Mertz, a guy who's been around college football for a long time and not for good reasons, might I add. It was a bad omen for Florida. They went with a whiteout, and Miami countered with wearing white jerseys, and Cam Ward, that heart rate never went above 0. Now, let's talk about a guy whose heart rate went a lot above 0. Brian Kelly, the LSU Tigers, once again lost in Week 1, and after the game, they lost to USC. Brian Kelly had some words.
Yeah, we're sitting here again talking about the same things. About not finishing when you have an opponent in a position to put them away. But what we're doing on the sideline is feeling like the game's over.
Bro, chill out. Brian Kelly, relax. Have a Snickers bar, something like that. You aren't you when you're hungry. But Brian Kelly, I mean, same old story.
He does need a Snickers bar. That's a great pull out of you, Austin. I mean, it's the same thing as last year when they lost to Florida State in the opener as well.
Yep.
They played great on offense. Their defense just wasn't good enough. Garrett Nussmeier was on fire. The guy waited his turn to be quarterback behind Jaden Daniels, and he got the job done. He spread the ball out throughout the field.
Good.
He got scored late in the fourth quarter. 3 scores, by the way, in the last 6 minutes of the game. Great college football game, by the way. But USC just got it done in the clutch. Brian Kelly wasn't able to do it last year, and he's starting to show it's becoming a theme at LSU.
I'm going to run through 5 to 7 mistakes as you look at that tremendous catch out of Kyron Hudson for the SC Trojans. LSU, their fans rightfully pissed off after this game. All right, 4th and goal to 3, first drive of the game. They go for it. For some reason, they don't pick it up. Turnover on downs. Then they commit an unsportsmanlike conduct. Lacey made that great catch. I love Lacey. He's an electrifying wide receiver, Sunday skills kind of guy. But they allow the long return on the kickoff. You know, they missed from 29 yards out. You have a turnover on downs. 3rd and 1, up 17-13 in the fourth quarter. They don't convert. They punt it away. The Trojans score a few plays later. And then sloppy zone coverage with 18 seconds left in a 20-20 game, plus the targeting. Brian Kelly, your team is once again bad on defense and undisciplined. Your kicker is bad. Your offense is good. Your defense, what's going on? You have playmakers like Kyron Lacey. You have a really good quarterback, like you said, and you still aren't getting it done. At some point, you got to look yourself in the mirror.
I think you also have to look at USC here, too. Miller Moss put on a show. He hit 6 different receivers for 45 or more yards. He's also waited his turn and has really shown out in this game specifically. He threw the ball when he needed to, scored those 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter. He really showed that when he was sitting out watching these games, he learned from his experience.
Miller Moss, a name to remember for the Heisman Trophy. I'm not saying he's going to win it.
Already anointing a Heisman?
I'm not anointing a Heisman. I already anointed Cam Ward last week, but a guy to have on your radar. Now, Jordan, you mentioned a guy waiting in the wings. Skyler Wilkes waiting in the wings to debate Jordan when we come back. The Juicer, first of the semester. You don't want to miss it.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch. Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help,
Welcome back to No Pulp, and for the first time this semester, we have the juicer, Jordan Leonard, Skyler Wilkes, Austin Barach. It's college sports' premier debate show where Jordan and Skyler will be going at it, debating the hot topics in college football after week 1. Jordan, let me start with you. As you guys know, we go 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, and if it's tied, a bonus question. So watch out, folks. Things could get interesting. They always seem to do here in the juicer. First question, Jordan. Best individual performance after week 1. A lot of good options.
There's a lot of good options. There's really 2 options here, and I'm going to go with the number 1 option, of course. Tetairoa McMillan, otherwise known as T-Mac from Arizona. 10 receptions, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns. This all happened, by the way, into the fourth quarter with 10 minutes left. He didn't even play after that point. He had 4 touchdowns in the first 33 minutes. It's the first time that someone's had over 300 yards since the Jackson Smith-Njigba game in the Rose Bowl against Utah in 2022. I know you're a Kirk Herbstreit fan as well. Kirk Herbstreit ranked him as the number 1 performer of the week. That just backs up my point there. He's 6'5". He can go up and get the ball. Not only that, he can go after the catch. You're looking at it right there. He broke the school record for 304 yards, tied the school record for 4 touchdowns, all within about 3 quarters and a half. And a wide receiver. When have you ever seen a wide receiver go over 304 yards in the last 2 years? It just doesn't happen.
Does not. Skyler.
You know, it should make Syracuse fans pretty angry that they didn't see something like this out of Dino Babers when he was the head coach here.
Wildcats are the new fast.
Wildcats are the new fast. Big 12 foes with your guy Damian Alford. Should be interesting to see how they fare. I'm still sticking in the Mountain West. You know, New Mexico was on the losing side of that game against Arizona. How about Ashton Genty, the running back from Boise State? 20 carries, 267 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That is absolutely ridiculous. He had over 130 more yards than Georgia Southern, the team he was going up against. It's the most touchdowns scored by a Mountain West player in conference history, and the most since 2013. In case you can't do the math, that's over 10 years ago. Ashton Genty has really burst his name on the scene, putting himself in potential Heisman conversation. You know, we're a long way from that, but he is really making a name for himself. And, you know, McMillan's going to be a first-round pick. Genty might be right there with him.
Skyler, you know what would have made this performance better? It was on the blue field. If it's on the blue field, that might make it the number 1 performance of the week. Maybe.
Now, it turns out these are great points for both people. You guys are ball knowers, as we know. But I just love T-Mac. I mean, what he did at Arizona, you know, Saturday night, Dino Babers, what's going on?
He's 1 inch shorter than you.
Jordan will get the point there. This is long from over, though. All right, so we'll go to Skyler here for the next question, worth 2 points. Let's talk conferences. Everyone loves conferences. Which one's better? The most impressive conference after week 1 is who?
Well, it's the best conference in college football in the SEC. Put on an absolute clinic over teams. 6 shutouts, outscored opponents 733 to 156. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. And only 3 losses. But you had 2 of them to higher ranked teams. So it doesn't really even matter at that point.
Okay.
And how about when you have Vanderbilt winning, everyone wins. And Diego Pavia, my guy, the transfer quarterback from New Mexico State, he's a real stud. The Commodores welcomed Virginia Tech to town and came away victorious. The SEC, Georgia is the number 1 team in the entire country and made Clemson look silly. Made your guy Dabo Swinney look silly, especially.
Not hard to
SEC.
do.
You're right.
Yeah.
But SEC, there's no doubt about it. This is the best team conference in college football.
I'm going to have to go to the Big Ten. It's really the other big boy conference. You said SEC lost 3 games. The Big Ten only lost 1 game all week, and it was Minnesota against the North Carolina team that was really playing for their quarterback, Max Johnson, at the end of the day. If you look at it also, you know, talk about head-to-head. USC beat LSU straight up in prime time. Yes, USC is in the Big Ten, everyone. I know it sounds weird. UCLA's in there too, Washington, Oregon. You know the drill. USC beat LSU straight up. Penn State dominated West Virginia, even though Penn State was kind of being doubted a little bit this season. You know, they never got over the hump pretty much. 6 teams in the top 25 this week, and then, you know, I can't talk about the Big Ten without talking about Rutgers. Rutgers looked absolutely dominant against Howard. They ran the ball. Greg Schiano's squad.
They didn't.
Not in the first half, but, you know, the finish is all that matters. Greg Schiano has his squad going, a sleeper team in the Big Ten. The Big Ten overall is the most competitive conference.
Well, you might as well put Idaho in there, given that they gave Oregon a run for their money.
The Oregon-Idaho thing was weird, and Wisconsin really struggled with what Western Michigan was.
Good MAC team.
Now Nico for Tennessee looked really good. So overall, I think the SEC had a better week 1. The SEC just means more sometimes. We'll see what happens. All right. Question 3, Skyler's up 2-1 right now. We're going back to Jordan for the third question. The biggest surprising team. Now, this could be good or bad, but I feel like the nature of what we saw week 1, it might be kind of bad. Jordan, who you got?
Well, haters got to hate. I love being a hater, especially after week 1. I love overreacting, and that's where you got to go. Virginia Tech. They were hyped up as the most overhyped up team going into the season. They were thought to have potentially have a chance to get to the college football playoff. And what do? They lose to Vanderbilt in week number 1. They have the 20th easiest schedule in the country. Vandy was voted last in the SEC. They have 9 wins combined in the last 3 years. They've won more than 6 games since 2013. They are a horrible college football program, and Virginia Tech loses in week 1 after everyone hyped them up so much. Potential college football playoff sleeper. You can't go to Vandy and lose in week 1 like that. They're easily the worst team, the most disappointing one in week 1.
Jordan, I'm with you. I'm one of the biggest haters out there, right there with you, and I'm sticking in the ACC. Florida State, I don't think anyone has had a worse first week in college football than the Seminoles. You lose in a nail-biter in Ireland to Georgia Tech. You come back home to Tallahassee. You have an unranked Boston College in their first game with a new head coach, and what happens? You put up 21 rushing yards on 16 attempts. It was an absolute embarrassment. This is a team that was really a committee away from being in the college football playoffs last year, and then you come in high expectations, they're in the top 10, and what do you know? They lose 2 games to 2 unranked opponents. They're one of 4 teams in the past decade to start the season in the top 10 in the preseason poll and end up losing and starting 0-2. I mean, that is just as ugly as it gets, and the Seminoles are actually on that list twice. Mike Norvell, he's looking a whole lot like Willie Taggart down there in Tallahassee.
I will say, though, number 23, Georgia Tech now. They lost in week 1. BC, a good team. Bill O'Brien. Austin's from Boston. They fight down there in Boston.
For Boston. I know, Jordan, you were wearing that shirt.
I was wearing that shirt earlier.
Here's the thing. No matter who picked Florida State was going to win this. I'm sorry, Jordan. But Skyler wins the juicer here with 3 points. I mean, Florida State was the answer here. I mean, it might not be any disrespect. Just Florida State. I mean, they lost twice as a top 10 team. What's going on? They had all the motivation after the Ireland thing. You can pick up your juice right there, Skyler. And they come back home and they put up a stinker to Boston College, and it was never even close. In a week 1 where Dabo Sweeney and Billy Napier lose, somehow Mike Norvell, the biggest loser of them all. Jordan, hopefully we can continue the show here and you won't hate me. Skyler, the guest, picks up the win week 1. No Pulp. It's a different show this year, folks. What's going on? All right, when we return, we talk about Billy Napier. We talk about Dabo Sweeney. Stay to the program, Clemson and Florida. What's going on? We'll dissect it on the other side. A quick break.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
You quit smoking and thought, that's that. But here's the thing about lung cancer. By the time you see the symptoms, it could be too late. But now, there's a new scan that can detect lung cancer early, when it's more curable. If you smoked, get scanned. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Clemson and Florida. 2 storied programs with glory in their past.
The school's 3rd national football championship.
The Tigers reclaim their crown.
But uncertainty in the present.
As they get hammered
34-3.
And Mario Cristobal has got to be very pleased.
From national championships to mediocrity, is it a matter of missed transfers, coaching missteps, or is it the problem deeper, etched in the heart of their programs? Let's uncover the truth behind the turmoil on No Pulp right now. Welcome back into No Pulp, everyone. He's Austin Barach. I'm Jordan Leonard. You just saw it. It's time to dive into potentially the two most free-falling programs in college football. I just lost in the juicer, so time to be even more of a hater, Austin. We're going to start with Clemson, who absolutely got steamrolled against #1 Georgia in week 1. It was close at halftime. Second half, not so much. And I know you do not like the head coach, Dabo Swinney.
Look, I'm sure he's a great guy personally, but I'm just fed up with his shenanigans, all right? The shtick is over, man. You were relevant 5 years ago when you had good quarterbacks, when you had top 3 level quarterbacks, okay? Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence are not walking through that door anymore. They're not running down that hill. They're not touching that rock, all right? What's going on right now with Clemson is you have a head coach who thinks that he has to be right all the time. In no world can Dabo Swinney be wrong. Look, he doesn't go to the portal because he thinks all of his guys that he recruited are the best. Why? Because he recruited them. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and he's just dumb. He can't recognize that he's wrong. You know, the worst people in life are the people who take themselves too seriously, and Dabo Swinney is a man who is an egomaniac. He's delusional. He thinks he can still win. You're playing a game 6 years ago. Times have changed. You got to change with the times.
So I do agree that it is on Dabo Swinney, but only in the transfer portal part. The quarterbacks really haven't worked out. He got DJ Uyunglele, who was a highly rated quarterback similar to Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, both winning national titles for Clemson. Yeah. Then Cade Klubnik, another highly rated quarterback. Both haven't panned out. He still recruits very well. 2 top wide receivers in this year's class. He's got Phil Maffa at running back. And especially this season, Georgia is the best team in the country. We saw that in week 1. Clemson's schedule is very manageable in the ACC. They got number 24 NC State, Florida State, number 22 Louisville. Those are really their hardest games left on the schedule. So they're not done this season. If he doesn't get back in the transfer portal, then I think Clemson will have some problems moving forward. But this season for sure is not over just yet.
It's just Clemson and the service academies, those can't be the only teams not doing transfer portal stuff. That's just bad. It's really bad. It's a program that's in disarray right now, a program that's been on the demise for several seasons now. Now let's go to Florida. And this is a Gators team, as you talked about earlier, got toasted by Cam Ward and company. Jordan, they fired Dan Mullen a few seasons ago, and Billy Napier right now does not have the answers.
Billy Napier absolutely doesn't have the answers. I was shocked when they fired Dan Mullen after three straight New Year's Six bowl games. And Dan Mullen actually is shocked that he was fired as well. Matt Berry tweeted out the other day about this. The Florida coach that got fired went 3 consecutive New Year's Six games in the first 3 years and was let go in season 4. Ever since then, it has been downhill for Florida. Billy Napier can recruit. Don't get me wrong. He has top classes year in, year out, but he cannot coach. And if you look at the schedule the rest of the season, Florida has the hardest schedule in the country. They have ranked games each of the last 6. They play in the SEC, which you thought was the most competitive conference in college football this season. They don't have a dynamic quarterback in Graham Mertz. Their running game is solid, but when you don't have a dynamic quarterback in college football, you're not going to win many games.
It's a classic program that thinks that the grass is greener on the other side. It's the toxic nature of college football. All these fan bases think they have to be competing for conference championships and national championships. And just because you go to New Year's Six bowls, you think you got to be better. Guess what? It worked for Michigan and Harbaugh. They stuck it through. You know who was good at coaching? Harbaugh. We know they kept losing to Ohio State, but they trusted the process. They trusted what was going on there, and eventually they broke through. You got to give Dan Mullen some time. It's too bad now. They can't go back and reverse it. You know, like Lou Holtz once said, you know, if you finish second in the country in football, they call you an idiot. If you finish last in your medical school, they call you a doctor. It's all about perspective, and right now, Billy Napier, it's just perspective right now with Florida. Dan Mullen was good. Going 10-3 and losing a bowl game isn't so bad after all.
You would be about trusting the process. That is a classic A-B kind of quote right there. We're going to trust the process on No Pulp. We got one more break here. After the break, we're going to have plays of the week and our final word. You're not going to want to miss it after this.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Here's your check.
Oh, you got it. You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. No.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early.
You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give.
Wrapping up shop here on No Pulp. Austin Barach. We're going to hear from Jordan Leonard in a moment. Let's go to plays of the week for mine. We just talked about this game. Georgia and Clemson down in Atlanta, Georgia. Late in the game, fourth quarter action, Malachi Starks. He goes up. You're going to watch this pass from Cade Klubnik. He's in the shotgun. He's going to go back to pass. Far sideline, and Starks reads it. Bam! Beautiful. Concentration, balance, athleticism. Now, what makes this the play of the week, though, look at this from 2 years ago. Same building, other sideline, turns around, almost like symmetry. Funny how that works. History doesn't always repeat itself, but sometimes it rhymes. Malachi Starks in the same building. The acrobatics, wonderful stuff out of the Georgia Bulldogs secondary.
Austin, when I think of a play of the week, I got one better than you, by the way. What made me go, whoa? This week it has to be Robert Morris's defensive back, Robert Carter Jr. An absolute sick one-handed interception in the game. That's the difference, Austin. One-handed. Look at him go up for this. He had no intention of going up with two hands. Only one. He knew he was going to make the catch. He knew he was going to be on SportsCenter Top 10. He knew he was going to be Jordan Leonard's play of the week on No Pulp. He did this on purpose because he knew he could do this. It was an absolute amazing interception, and you can't simulate that.
I didn't think that we were competing here for the plays of the week, but now it's time for my final word, and it's the first final word of the semester. And look, here's the thing about what I got here. I'll keep the mood light, right? Let's talk about last Saturday morning. I'm waking up, let's throw in some college football, college game day. You know, it's the best. It's a reminder that college game day is the best. The characters are what make it count, right? You want a true analyst, Kirk Herbstreit. You want the best host in the biz, you got Reese Davis. You want a Hall of Fame coach, Nick Saban. You got all these different guys, all these different characters. You got Desmond Howard, a former Heisman winner. You got all these cooks in the kitchen. You got Lee Corso doing the Notre Dame pick, a legend of the game. And they all come together. They clearly like each other. That's what it's all about. And then best of all, Pat McAfee. Jordan, there's nobody better for live TV in this world than Pat McAfee. Him and Saban, that's a real relationship right there. I love sports podcasts. Think of Pardon My Take, the Bill Simmons podcast, the Ryan Russillo podcast, but there's something that speaks to the fabric of America about a college football show that goes to college campuses on Saturday morning that is so special. Game day is perfect.
I agree. There's nothing better than Pat McAfee. My final word, though, a big generalization about our Generation Z is that we are all about immediate gratification. This generation wants everything in the here and now. This sentiment rings true, especially in the era of the transfer portal. Now, this is not to say that I'm saying something bad about athletes going into the transfer portal and transferring to other schools. I actually really don't mind that. But we need to celebrate the guys who stay for all 4 years. Miller Moss and Garrett Nussmeier, USC, LSU, those guys played very well in the game. We need to celebrate that immensely compared to the transfer portal guys.
Just like Florida, the grass is not always greener on the other side. Austin Barach, Jordan Leonard, there's a whole lot of fun. Texas, Michigan this weekend. Enjoy week 2, folks. This was No Pulp.